How do we define culture? The word culture originated from the Latin cultura, stemming from colere, meaning to cultivate. It generally refers to patterns of human activity, and the symbolic structures that give such activities significance and importance. Different definitions of culture reflect different theoretical bases for understanding, or criteria for evaluating, human activity. Culture binds people together, as members of groups, and provides clues as to how to behave in both normal and unusual situations. Culture influences the values, beliefs and behaviors that people share with other members of various social groups. What is an HSE culture? An HSE culture is an organizational culture where not only safety, but also occupational health and the environment are given priority in the way people think and act. At its best, it means that world-class HSE is how we do business around here. The term safety culture was first used by the International Atomic Energy Authority to explain how the 1986 Chernobyl disaster happened. The disaster didn't happen because of the technology of the operator skills. After all, the operators were the best in the Soviet Union. Indeed, it was a weak safety culture that caused the two explosions that blew up the 1,000-ton concrete ceiling cap on the Chernobyl 4 reactor. This resulted in the release of molten nuclear core fragments into the atmosphere, contaminating 400 square miles around the Ukrainian plant, and greatly increasing the risk of cancer across large areas of Western and Northern Europe. How strong is your HSE culture? The best way to understand an HSE culture is in terms of an evolutionary ladder. Each level of the ladder has distinct characteristics and is a progression from the previous level. The range runs from the pathological through the reactive to the calculative, and then on to the proactive and the final stage, which we call the generative. Pathological level is where people don't really care about safety, let alone health or the environment. They are driven only by regulatory compliance and not getting caught at this level. You hear people saying things like, "Of course we have accidents. It's a dangerous business. Bad news is ignored." Reactive level is where safety is taken seriously, but it only gets sufficient attention after things have already gone wrong. People say things like, "You have to understand, it's different here at the reactive level." Managers say they take safety seriously, but feel frustrated and make remarks like, "If only they would do what they're supposed to do," or "We need to force compliance." Bad news is kept hidden. Organization accepts self-deception. The next level is calculative, or bureaucratic. This is where an organization is comfortable with systems and numbers. A safety management system has been implemented successfully, and leaders often talk about the importance of safety, although they tend to focus on compliance. The objective being to show off that health, safety and the environment are taken very seriously. There is major emphasis on gathering statistics. Bonuses are tied to them, and contractors are rated in terms of their safety record, and not only because they are the cheapest. Bad news is tolerated, but still unwelcomed. In calculative organizations, a lot of data is collected and analyzed. People feel comfortable making changes to procedures and processes. There are plenty of audits and people begin to feel they have achieved their goals. Nevertheless, organizations at this level still produce injuries, and people are surprised when this happens, because they expect that the system should have worked to prevent them. The proactive level looks towards the future, rather than managing HSE, based on what happened in the past. Proactive organizations consider what might go wrong in the future and take steps to prevent incidents, before being forced to. Proactive organizations are those where the workforce becomes involved in practice, not just in theory. A key change at the proactive level is genuine care for people. Leaders treat safety as a value, and all business decisions take the HSE perspective into consideration in advance. In a proactive culture, people become increasingly process-oriented, asking, "Are we doing the right things?" rather than just being focused on incidents. It's quite simply about creating an environment that encourages behavior and beliefs that will deliver lasting improvements in performance, both in the HSE and beyond. As an organization climbs up the culture ladder to proactive level, people become better informed and trust increases among them. That means managers know what is happening in their organization, and where the problems lie. In turn, The workforce knows exactly what managers expect. No mixed messages are communicated, because managers and workers are aligned. A two-way trust is built up, because people know what is expected of them and they can be trusted. There is less need for bureaucracy, audits and supervision. The workload generally decreases after the calculative stage. People offer to accept accountabilities. They tend to say that you can count on me, rather than just being told they will be held accountable for some mishaps. Organizations at the next level have a generative HSE culture, which are known as high-reliability organizations. These organizations know that good HSE performance is an indicator of good organizational performance. They set very high standards, then attempt to exceed them, rather than be satisfied with minimum compliance level. They are brutally honest about failure, but use it to improve, not to blame. Management knows what is really going on, because the workforce is willing to tell them. Respect for people is implicit in all decisions. In a generative culture, people live in a state of unease and are mindful of what could go wrong. They try to stay informed, as much as possible. Bad news is actively searched for, because it provides the best opportunity to learn. So messengers bring bad news are trained and welcomed in the organization. Things can still go wrong, but instead of looking for people to blame, these organizations actively seek out and learn from their failures. They embrace their errors and use them to make things better, so that everyone understands how to improve performance. Looking at an HSE culture in terms of this maturity ladder provides a route map, where every organization has a certain level of cultural maturity. Everyone in the organization can see which level of the ladder they're on, where they have been, and what the next step looks like. As managers or members of an organization, please ask yourself, where is your organization? Would you like to progress up that ladder? What will it take to move you to the next level of maturity?